And good morning, everyone. Today is March 14th, 2019. I'm Roy Potter. Welcome to the Potter Expositor. Yeah, still snowing here. I don't know how it is elsewhere. I read this morning that they have had 100-mile-per-hour winds in the Midwest, Colorado, Kansas, places like that. Very cold temperatures, very dangerous. Um, wow, pretty amazing, especially when spring is just around the corner. Well, as most of you know, I blew up yesterday, and it's been, I do that from time to time, and I know that probably gets under some people's skin. But if we don't have passion, ladies and gentlemen, if we don't start demanding that our leaders do the righteous and the constitutional things, and express our anger when they either can't or either they refuse to or they can't for whatever excuse, we need to make noise and we need to show how upset we are. I don't want to hear today about, well, what would you rather have had? Hillary? Of course not. That's why we voted for Trump. But by the same token, we're going down that same road that Hillary would have taken us down. Not as fast, and we can say it's all on the deep state. They've caused this and all that, and I am here to categorically refute that claim. I'm not saying they haven't been a problem. And then you look at people like Maxine Waters that have called Clinton. See, a lot of things are the same. Called Trump a liar. Well, she's calling him a liar for different reasons than I am going to today. She has her own issues. She's worried about her own pocketbook. She's worried about her own power. And yes, he was an outsider coming in, and they didn't like that. But I'm afraid, as I looked across the landscape now for all this time, that the end game is not going to be that much different with Trump. And I think he's proven it over the last, really, considering what he said in his campaign, I'm going to say it's been 3 years now, over 3 years that I've been supporting him. And I've called him on the carpet, and I've had some issues with him. But as of yesterday, unless he does something positive, and we're going to talk about that, and he'll say, well, he's done lots of things positive. Look, most of the things he's done would have happened anyway. Getting Supreme Court nominees in there, big deal. Federal judges. The USMCA is a disaster. It's not much better than NAFTA. Actually, it's not any better than NAFTA. The thing with North Korea, good on him for doing that, but by the same token, he's still listening to his generals rather than to his discernment and his heart. The military-industrial complex and the deep state are very much alive. But with that introduction, we'll get all to that in a few minutes. You'll notice, if you look at your screen, on the right side, I have 3 little inserts there. Those are some of the things we're going to talk about today. And the first thing that I want to do is I want to give a tribute for and in behalf of the supporting of the Second Amendment to a gentleman that I actually met once, Lieutenant Colonel, USMC retired Jeff Cooper, served in both World War II and in Korea. He retired as a lieutenant colonel from the Marine Corps and became so concerned with the course of the country that he started writing in publications, mostly like Guns and Ammo, if any of you are familiar with that, but those types of magazines. He and a guy who worked on the Border Patrol by the name of Bill Jordan were guys that I really looked up to. Bill Jordan, I was thinking about including him today because he was a Border Patrol officer, had a long and illustrious career, quite legendary. But I thought that I'd just go ahead and talk about Jeff Cooper today because Lieutenant Colonel, yeah, he was in the Marine Corps, but still I can see where he's coming from. He didn't get to that point in the rank where he became corrupt, because right at the 05 lieutenant colonel level is where a division takes place. I'm not saying everybody that makes it to 06 colonel or captain of the Navy has been corrupted or bought off, but most of the time they're company men or women by that time. And they're selected to go further because they play the game of the elites and the corrupt in the New World Order. And I'm not going to sit here and argue why that is, but the point is that Cooper didn't do that. And he went out and he started writing and talking about the Second Amendment and the Constitution and self-defense and all of that. So I first read about him in Guns and Ammo, and then I went to a meeting where he was speaking, and an excellent speaker, wonderful guy, dedicated to the United States of America and to the constitutional republic. And that was back when I was in high school and college. And he's really the one that set me on the path to, I had to learn more about firearms. I'd had a little bit to do with them, but not much. And then, of course, I got into ROTC and those things. But the point is that his explanations just made so much sense. Now, you can go look Jeff up, Colonel Cooper. He was born on May 10th, 1920, and he died on September 25th, 2006. He started, like I said, writing for gun magazines, talking about the Second Amendment, those types of things. And he started an organization that eventually became called Gunsight, and it's in Arizona. And it's a place where he taught people, primarily military and law enforcement, how to use pistolware. I'll call it that. He's best known for his instructions on how to use handguns, using the Weaver stance and the tactics used for that. He was very much in favor of large bore handguns, preferably semi-automatics. When I say large bore, I'm talking about, in his day, it was the 45. He did consider the Bren 10, which shot the 10 mm, and I'm sure that, although I don't remember, I'm sure he had some favorable things to say about the 40. But his weapon of choice was, in fact, the 45 1911 semi-automatic, the one that the Army used, and that so many people are familiar with. I'm just looking down here because I want to read something about him. So he put himself on the line, and he never wavered. With Colonel Cooper, you got what you saw. There was no pretense. He called it like he saw it. And if you look up his history, you'll see what I'm talking about. He was not politically correct by any means, okay? Which is probably why he finally had to get out of the services. But let me read just a little bit about him, and then I'm going to play a little piece here on the Second Amendment. Okay, let me show you Colonel Cooper here real quick so you know who I'm talking about. This is him here up on the upper right-hand corner. So let me bring this out so you can see it. And sorry I went too far. Okay, so there he is. Can everybody see that? Well, it's jumping around a little bit on me there, but I think you get the idea. And we're going to talk about this quote from him, and I put it in the little presentation I made the other day, and I'm going to read it to you again, okay? Before I do, I want to point out that even Thomas Jefferson said that crime and tyranny are the same things. Tyranny is just where criminals have gotten control of power, political power. Okay? So when he's talking about crime here, he's choosing his words carefully. He was a retired officer, and he knew what he could do and what he couldn't. So this is what he says. If violent crime is to be curbed, that includes tyranny, it is only the intended victim who can do it. The felon does not fear the police, and he fears neither judge nor jury, and politicians don't fear the Constitution. They ignore it all the time. Therefore, what he must be taught to fear is his victim. Lieutenant Colonel Jeff Cooper. Remember what they said. It's an old cliche. If the people are afraid of the government, that's tyranny. If the government are afraid of the people, that's freedom. And that's absolutely 100% true. Okay? So I want you all to consider that. I'm going to put this back up in the corner. And we're going to play a little bit of this little piece I put together, okay? Okay, so here we go. I think it's about 2 minutes long. So here we go. All right. Well, I hope you appreciate that. One of the great patriots, and I wanted to give him a little recognition there. As small as I am, I still wanted to do that because he did make some important strides and some sacrifices. Let me read a little bit more about him, and then we'll move on. And some of this you'll appreciate because it's some of the things I've been saying. Okay. This is quoting from a little write-up on him, which many of you will find. Cooper is best known for his work on pistol training, but he favored the rifle for tactical shooting. He often described the handgun as a convenient-to-carry stopgap weapon, allowing someone the opportunity to get a rifle. So do you understand that? In other words, the primary defensive weapon that Cooper acknowledged is the rifle. The handgun just a tool to help you get to the rifle or as a stopgap until you can. So let me quote this to you, okay? This is why the Second Amendment is so important. Personal weapons are what raised mankind out of the mud, and the rifle is the queen of personal weapons. The rifle is a weapon. Let there be no mistake about that. It is a tool of power and thus dependent completely upon the moral stature of its user. Just like a knife, just like any other type of tool, whatever. It is equally useful in securing meat for the table, destroying group enemies on the battlefield, and resisting tyranny. In fact, it is the only means. Let me repeat that. In fact, it is the only means of resisting tyranny, since a citizenry armed with rifles simply cannot be tyrannized. The rifle itself has no moral stature, since it has no will of its own. Naturally, it may be used by evil men for evil purposes, but there are more good men than evil, something the Democrats don't like to talk about. Or rhinos who go along with restricting and infringing on the Second Amendment. Let me start there again, sorry. Naturally, it may be used by evil men for evil purposes, but there are more good men than evil. And while the latter cannot be persuaded to the path of righteousness by propaganda, they can certainly be corrected by good men with rifles. Jeff Cooper, The Art of the Rifle. So I wanted to bring that up to everybody today and let you know how important this Second Amendment is. And any politician, any leader, any civic leader, any municipality leader, any county leader, any city leader, any state leader that tries to infringe on your Second Amendment, it's not to protect people against criminals. It's to protect them and their minds about the tyranny that they seek to bring down upon you. They don't want anything. They don't want anything to stand in the way of that tyranny that they want to bring down. So that's why I'm so upset at President Trump. One of the things that I said, he must aggressively defend the First, Second, and Fourth Amendments. And he has failed to do that. Not only failed, but refused. And we're going to talk about that some more today. Okay, I got to get to something else here. Give me just a second. Okay. This next one's going to be important too when we get to it. For a long time, I've said, President Trump, you have a requirement, you have a duty, you have a responsibility, you have an oath to protect and defend the Constitution of the United States. Not all these other nefarious things you're supposed to protect. You can't protect every individual. Your duty is to protect the integrity of the Constitution of the United States and defend it against all enemies, foreign and domestic. And in the process of doing that, you will secure the rights, help to secure the rights of the American people, which is paramount. But you don't understand that. You constantly ignore it. You shovel it to the bottom of the pile. You talk about economics. Well, I'm going to tell you something. If we lose our freedom, economics isn't going to matter. If we lose our freedom of speech, which is backed up by the Second Amendment, our economics aren't going to matter. There's one thing to stop a bleeding wound, and I understand that as far as fixing the economy and all these other things. But if they're still shooting at you and causing more wounds, there's only one thing left to do, and that's to fight back. And you are not doing that, and you are not helping the American people to avoid the slaughter that these elites and these communists and leftist Marxists have planned for us. So what have I said? For over 2 years now, I've said President Trump, you need to implement Article 2, Section 2 to get around the Congress and them, all these people trying to stop you, the deep state and elsewhere. But no, he doesn't do that. He keeps bringing in deep state people, neocons, leftist Marxists, his son-in-law and his daughter, who are demanding that he do things that are outside even the constitutional authority, but they get away with it because it's the federal government doing it. If nobody else in the federal government should be there to ensure the Constitution is protected. But no, it's not like that anymore. Not even with Lindsey Graham. Lindsey Graham says, oh yeah, I'd go along. You know, this gun control thing, that's something that we can deal with the Democrats on. You cannot reach across this aisle anymore to the leftist Marxists and think that you can reconcile with them or negotiate with them. It's gone. Dan Bongino understands that. Most people, I think, now understand that. If you don't, you need to wake up. So I said Article 2, Section 2, and some other military people have said the same thing. Would it cause a problem? Oh, no, they're going to kick and scream, sure. But we've got to save the Republic, and desperate times call for desperate measures. And ignoring the First, Second, and Fourth Amendments is not the way to do it, President Trump, and even turn your back on them. You've turned your back on your supporters, as I said yesterday. You've treated your supporters and the Constitution just like you did those contractors that you got to build your buildings, then you turned your back on them and stiffed them and didn't pay them. And you got us to support you, and you've turned your back on us. When is the last time you went on Alex Jones? What are you, a coward? Yes, I'm going to lay it all out today. I'm done. I am not supporting Trump one iota. Oh, well, the devils will take over. That's inevitable anyway on the course that we're on right now. No. We don't need to prove our loyalty to Trump. We don't have to substantiate the fact that we stand for the Second American Revolution, MAGA, and the Constitutional Republic of the United States of America. We've done that, and we continue to do it to the best of our ability. But that loyalty, which should be to that principle, is not being returned with loyalty by principle to us and to that stand and to the Constitution itself from the President of the United States. So, what did I say about like the infanticide? Okay, these municipalities, these state and local governments okaying the killing of infants, late-term abortions, but even after birth, which we have laws on the book to already cover that. We have cities and towns and counties and states that are enacting red flag laws and other registration, control, and confiscatory statutes and laws to infringe on the Second Amendment so that we can't protect ourselves from criminals of all kinds. And what's the first thing that criminals will do? They'll disarm you. So we have all these violations of the First Amendment by the censorship and the control by the social media and the MSM, which leads back, by the way, and I'll say it again, the CIA and the intelligence community, which Trump is afraid to say. Coward. So we have that problem. We have the killing of infants. We have the overreach of federal and state authorities, principally from the three-letter agencies. But let's just stick with the states and the cities and the counties that are infringing on our First, Second, and Fourth Amendments. In 1950s, Eisenhower sent the military to the South where they were violating, and I've talked about this before, where those states were violating the civil rights of people. Where are you, Trump? You've got more than enough reason to do that now. Oh, he'll run into so many problems. Well, at least if he's willing to bring out this whole thing with the corruption of the IC, let's just take it to another step. Why do you want to stop there? Everybody wants to defend him. Oh, he's already done that. He's showing how bad they are. Yeah? Well, let's show how bad LA is. Sacramento. New York. Denver. When they violate the rights of the people, it's the duty, the obligation of the President of the United States to stop that denial of rights. I'm not the only one that says that. Now we're going to show you this one. The other day on Twitter, I noticed that Dinesh D'Souza came out and said the same thing I was saying. Here's the tweet. Sorry, I'm a little slow here. And yes, I get passionate because I get tired of the excuses. Can you see that? How long have I been saying this? Read it. This is from Dinesh D'Souza. Eisenhower sent in the National Guard to protect civil rights. So why not do the same if necessary to protect civil liberties today? The innocent life of newborn children, even late-term abortions. The violation of our First Amendment by everyone that does it, whether it's government, state governments, local governments, MSM, social media, whatever. Second Amendment rights. All of the red flag laws, which you, President Trump, gave an okay to, and I've played that clip several times on my channel, where you said, well, let's do it this way. I want to take the guns first and then do due process. Do you know how rife with corruption that becomes? And you're seeing it now. So then he goes on. The First Amendment is not less important than the 14th Amendment. Did you hear that, President Trump? And all you people that want to be the, you're out there worshiping the personality. You're in a cult of personality, and you're not looking at what's happening to your country by the man. Yes, because he's ignoring his duties. He's derelict in his duties. Or he's complicit. There's no other explanation. Or he's a buffoon. So one of those three. He's either a buffoon, he's derelict in his duties, or he's complicit. There is no other answer, and all of those are unacceptable. I love Joe DeGeneva. I love Greg Jarrett. I appreciate what Hannity says. I like what everybody like Jim Jordan and Devin Nunes are doing. But Trump has turned his back on all of those people, and they don't seem to realize it. All he does is tweet and complain. Does he understand the office of the presidency? Well, I suppose that's a problem, but that goes with him being a buffoon. So no matter how we explain it, there's a problem. And the big losers in this, the big loser isn't going to be President Trump if he loses an election. It's going to be all of us who expected that we would be able to restore the constitutional republic, and we get stomped on by this tyranny that's building every day. Did you see when I played that? Remember the picture of the leftist Marxists in their masks and their red and their commie flags and their weapons? Well, with all of these laws like Dianne Feinstein wants to do and all these others to restrict the Second Amendment more, do you think those people are going to obey any of those laws that Pelosi puts in? Or the Senate, Schumer, and unfortunately McConnell? Do you think those guys are going to obey the laws in Oregon, in LA, in Chicago, in DC, in New York, in Denver, in St. Louis? No. But you want to take, those politicians want to take the weapons away from you, not because you're dangerous to those guys, the criminals, but because you're dangerous to their kind of crime. The mere fact that they want to take your weapons and your free speech is war against you. So, President Trump, it's time to activate the military. You could try your DOJ first. I'm waiting on Barr to do this. We're getting a lot of information now. Everybody's saying, the House and the Senate, we're going to, I got this from my Republican Insider last night. And I already knew it. But, we're moving ahead with criminal referrals. Well, how good has that been in the past? They haven't really done criminal referrals before. What's the DOJ waiting for? Why is it that we have to wait for the House and the Senate to do something? Barr has all the information he needs right now. He could go arrest Hillary, Comey, Clapper, Hayden, the whole list on just the evidence, the probable cause that he has sitting in his DOJ today. And nobody's going to tell me it's anything different. So, okay, we'll watch. I said till the 1st of April. And my Republican insider says, it's on the clock now. The clock's ticking. Yeah, we've heard that before too. I don't want to hear talk about it being done. I want to see it. And until I see it, it's not being done. So I wanted to show you that. And now to break the monotony a little bit, my final little window here, I think you'll find, oh, by the way, for all the people that send me information and I don't respond, thank you so much, especially on Twitter, on DMs. You send me all kinds of information, which some of this is that I'm going to show you here now. Actually, this one came from my daughter, but you really do a lot of great things. You give me information that I need, and I got a really good DM from a guy yesterday who was trying, and I might read it today. I might read it because we're going to take some time today, because I'm also going to get Dan Coulter. I'm giving Trump no quarter today. None. This is on him. It's his responsibility to show that he's going to be loyal to the Constitution and to the people that supported him to do that. Okay, let me show you this. I'm getting way far ahead of myself here. My daughter sent me this, and I LMAO'd, okay? I thought it was great. Can you see that? Let me read it to the people who might not be able to see it. Okay, there's a picture there of two surgeons with a guy on the table, okay? And this is what it says. 3 surgeons are discussing who makes the best patients to operate on. The first surgeon said, electricians are the best. Everything inside is color-coded. The second surgeon says, no, I think librarians are. Everything inside them is in alphabetical order. The third surgeon shut them up when he said, you're all wrong. Politicians are the easiest to operate on. There's no guts, no heart, no brains, and no spine. Plus, the head and the butt are interchangeable. I thought that was absolutely stupendous. That was so funny. I couldn't believe it. So, some things are just good. Let's get rid of that, and we'll get that out. I think we can get rid of the Dinesh D'Souza thing too, okay? I'm going to keep Colonel Cooper up there, though, because he's kind of going along with the information that we're covering today. All right. You noticed also on that little presentation that I gave you, there was a plaque in Athens, Tennessee, talking about the Battle of Athens. If you don't know what that was when the local government was corrupt there. There were political cronies, and they interfered in the election. And World War II veterans took up arms and went after those guys. Go look up Battle of Athens. I don't want to get into it too much here, but I just wanted to make sure that you knew what that plaque was about. Battle of Athens happened in 1946. We could also talk about some other ones, but I don't want to do that today because people say, oh, Roy's a radical, he's calling for violence. No, I'm not. I'm saying that you can't mess with our First, Second, and Fourth Amendments. Actually, none of our unalienable rights. You can't lawyer them away. You can't explain them away, because when you do that, you show you're the enemy. What set me off the other day, as most of you probably know, because Alex Jones talked about it and I referred to him, I've given Trump all this chance. I've given him the benefit of the doubt, right? I've accepted his excuses that he had all these things against him. And then I'm starting to think, over time, this is starting to look ridiculous for the reasons I've said. He's either a buffoon, he's derelict in his duties, or he's complicit. There are no other excuses. What really set me off was this thing because he refuses to protect his supporters, even in the exercise of their First Amendments, to support him and other things, Constitution. He has refused. Oh, he talks about it on Twitter. He talks about how bad it is. He'll say it in his rallies. What action has he taken? In fact, what executive orders he has signed on those associated things, there's been no action at all, at least none we see. And I'm saying it here right now. If you don't see it, it didn't happen. So all of you, again, all you flag wavers, all you personality worshipers, all you cult worshipers, cult personality worshipers, going down a bad road there. You better start getting critical of these people that say that they have a right to rule over you. So what set me off was this statement on the Breitbart interview. That in response to all these horrible things that the left, and the left is horrible. We talk about it all the time. But we already know we're not going to have an effect on them by bringing up their corruption and their deceits and their lies and their thievery and their murders. It doesn't register with them. So we keep attacking them, or we should attack them all the time, okay? We should. But we can't ignore Trump being allowed to go down this road and twiddle his thumbs and stick his thumb in his mouth. I'm done with it. We didn't elect him to do this. So wait till you hear what Ann Coulter has to say. And she's right on the money. And even Michael Savage said she's doing the godly thing. She's calling out Trump for what he is failing to do. And that calling politicians out like that is a necessary thing. And he praises Ann for doing it. Wait till you hear this. So it was the Breitbart interview where he says, oh, we just have to be good. We just have to mind our P's and Q's. We can't attack these people. Oh, no, we can't do that. We got to be good. Now, there was a guy that wrote me, and this guy wrote me and explained what he thought Trump meant by that. And I want to tell you, I appreciate you sending that. I'll try to read it here in a minute if I can. But the fact of the matter is, we don't have that kind of time to give him any more leeway. It's like I said, the title of this, it's either restoration or it's destruction. We're on the brink right now. What Trump is doing by not acting, and not going back on Alex Jones, for instance, because he's afraid of what the MSM, what CNN might say, or Fox News or whatever. He's afraid. He's a champion? Is he using Sun Tzu? No, I can tell you at this point in time, Sun Tzu, he is not using Sun Tzu. He's not using Clausewitz. He's not using anything. He's flying by the seat of his pants and his underwear is going up in his crack. By ignoring his base, by not putting people in his administration that were his supporters, though the government has to operate. Bullshit. We have too much government anyway. The reason why he's failing is because of those people. Well, it's not the only reason. It's him too. But those people are basically sabotaging him. And he does nothing about it. Is it because he doesn't understand it? There is no excuse. There are no excuses. He insults us by not putting people in his administration that support constitutional principles. He insults us by not addressing these issues that are affecting us every day. He insults our sacrifices. Look what's happened. Maybe they did some things wrong, but they weren't related to the Russian deal at all, or even the Ukrainian deal, which is what Lee Stranahan tries to point out, that they're trying to take the evidence off of Ukraine and the collusion with Ukraine because that's directly associated with Hillary Clinton, so they want to talk about the Russia thing. That was there too, but they definitely don't want to go on the Ukraine thing and the fact that there have been some people there convicted of interfering in the U.S. election. No, they don't want to talk about that. But Trump turns his back on his supporters who have sacrificed so much. And he refuses to fight for them. And why? Oh, well, he can't do that because he's the president. He's got to be more magnanimous. If he can't support his supporters who are standing up for the Constitution. I'm not saying for ideology in the Republican Party. I'm not even saying, economic stuff. If he can't support those that are trying to stand up for the constitutional issues, he's insulting them. He's turning his back on them. He's insulting people like Jim Jordan, Devin Nunes, Gates, Roger Stone, Alex Joseph, you, me. Is he stiffing us? Did he use us like he used those contractors in Las Vegas? Get them to build the buildings with promises of pay, and he had his lawyers make it so he didn't have to pay them. He stiffed them. Did he use us and our principles, saying that he was abiding by those principles and agreeing with them, which is really a big change in his lifestyle? Sorry, Trey Smith, it's just true. He stiffed us, ladies and gentlemen. Even at this point, if Bill Barr goes forward and goes after, some of these criminals, which I will have to see to believe, even if he does that, we still have no support for the First, Second, and Fourth Amendments anywhere in the federal government any longer. Good people like Jim Jordan and Devin Nunes, Rand Paul, Louis Gohmert, they'll all be silenced too. So who's left to take up the flag? Us. And of course, we'll be called criminals for doing it when they're the real criminals. Yep, prima facie. They're the real criminals. How long have I been calling out the FBI and the IC? Man, Trump's done a good job in exposing them, but he won't act. He still won't act. Putting Bill Barr in there, I hope Bill Barr has had an epiphany, a come-to-Jesus moment, and he wants to do the right thing. We'll see. But I don't have a lot of hope for it. And even if he does, as I just said, we've got a lot of other problems. I'm going to read an article now from Ann Coulter that goes through some of this. It's on Breitbart. There it is right there. I didn't put it in the description box with a link. But it's on Breitbart. It's called Ann Coulter, Trump by the Numbers. You can go there and follow along with me if you want, but I'm going to read this entire article because I think it's that important. When Fukushima happened, Ann Coulter was saying, "Oh, look, a little radiation's good for you." And I was furious with her. She's apparently doesn't know that much. She was probably spouting the stuff that the nuclear industry talked to her about. And I had a very dear female friend at the time who really liked Ann Coulter and had several of her books. Not that she understood what they were about. Not that she was not intelligent. It's just that there were some other issues there. But since then, I've become very fond of Ann Coulter and her stand. So let me read this. This will just take a couple minutes. I think it's that important. She wrote this 13 March 2019, and again, it's for Breitbart. And this is not going to be a short article, but it's absolutely important that you hear these things. One thing she doesn't include in this is Trump's intentional violation of the Second Amendment, his failure to support it and stand up for it and defend it. She does miss that one. It is now clear that Trump isn't waiting for a better moment. This was not an anomaly. It's not an accident. After he signed his third spending bill, remember he said, I won't sign another one of those bad things. He did it again, and he did it again. After he signed his third spending bill with no wall funding, which he claims to need, all sentient beings were forced to conclude that the president has no intention of ever doing anything we wanted on immigration. In fact, Trump is steadily moving in the precise opposite direction of what he promised. Illegal immigration is on track to hit the highest levels in more than a decade. And Trump has willfully decided to keep amnesty advocates Jared, Ivanka, Mick Mulvaney, Mark Short, and Mercedes Schlapp in the White House. For all his talk about immigration, did he ever consider hiring people who share his MAGA vision. Haven't I said that? Haven't we all been saying that? A diminishing percentage of the base is annoyed when I point this out, as I'm sure a lot of you are. I start, every time I come down on trumpets, oh, you're a deep stater, oh, you're a traitor, oh, you hate Trump or whatever, you like Hillary. You people who say that are worshipers of a cult personality. Let me start that again. I'm sorry. A diminishing percentage of the base is annoyed when I point this out. No, she says diminishing. More and more people are willing to admit that they've been had by this guy. They think that the moment something comes out of Trump's mouth, it has happened. Yes, Trump talks a good game. He's like a waiter who compliments us for ordering the hamburger, but keeps bringing us fish. The hamburger is our signature dish, juicy and grilled to perfection. You've made a brilliant choice. Now here's your salmon. If he refuses to do what we hired him to do, remember, we don't work for him. We don't work for the federal government. We created the federal government. The people did, through the states. If he refuses to do what we hired him to do, he's not getting a good Yelp review. I like her sense of humor. I've decided to discuss the Trump presidency in purely mathematical terms. It's not his fault. He's trying. Never has a president been under such attack. These are all things that people say, right? And this is what she says about it. These are more in the nature of excuses, not facts. Maybe Q was started by Trump to cover up his ineptitudes and his real plan. That's starting to look like a real possibility. Because what Q has done and what President Trump has done is put everything on hold. Let's wait until the plan comes out. Let's wait. Yeah, and be carefully led down to hell. Under my new approach, I will provide a numerical evaluation of the Trump presidency, which I call Trump by the numbers. No editorializing, no invective, no opinion. And then she starts with this evaluation. Number of miles of wall built on our southern border since Trump has been president. 0. She even came out the other day and said, if you've done it, Trump, give me the longitude and latitude and let's go see it. Number of miles of fence, bollard, or garden trellis built along our 2,000-mile border since Trump has been president. She's honest. He's done a little bit. You know what it is? 26 miles. Number of times Trump has claimed on Twitter he's already building the wall. 16 by my count. Number of times Trump has complained on Twitter that Congress won't give him funds to build the wall that he says he's already building. At least 30 by my count. Number of wall prototypes destroyed by the federal government. All of them. Number of executive orders ending the anchor baby scam, as Trump promises whenever an election is coming. 0. Number of executive orders issued by Trump rescinding Obama's unconstitutional amnesty for illegal alien dreamers. 0. Number of illegal aliens whose presence has been excused by Trump. 11 to 50 million, depending on whether you believe the propaganda or the facts. Number of extensions of the E-Verify system to prevent illegals from being hired over Americans. 0. Number of H-1B foreign workers in this country when Trump took office, approximately 1 million. Number of H-1B foreign workers in this country today, approximately 1 million. Number of asylum loopholes closed, 0. Number of top-level administration jobs, this is an important one, ladies and gentlemen. I bring it up all the time. Talks about this loyalty thing and bringing people in to support his stated program. rather than bringing in these deep staters, neocons, and leftist Marxists. So listen to this. Number of top-level administration jobs offered to... By the way, this is one of the first things that Mike Cernovich brought out. If Trump is so loyal, and if Trump is so honest and wanting to change and make MAGA and to drain the swamp, why has he hired none of us? Number of top-level administration jobs offered to immigration controllers who are not named Stephen Miller, 0. Number of top-level administration jobs offered to members of the Koch brothers' open borders networks, 5. See, he keeps giving to these guys, these deep staters, people that are opposed to his stated agenda. Number of attorneys general trying desperately to implement Trump's immigration agenda, whom Trump mocked and forced out of office, 1. Apart from immigration, probably the single most important campaign promise Trump made was to end the carried interest loophole. Most Republicans would break out into a cold sweat if asked to raise taxes on George Soros. I noticed that Tucker Carlson brought up George Soros the other night, which is exactly what the Judicial Watch guy, I always forget his name, I don't know why I do that, but he brought it up and he's been banned from Fox. I'm wondering if now Tucker's going to get in trouble for the same thing. Most Republicans would break out into a cold sweat if asked to raise taxes on George Soros. Finally, we had a Republican or Democrat who wasn't beholden to Wall Street. See, that's our thinking. The supporters of Bush, that's what we're thinking. Finally, we had a Republican or Democrat who wasn't beholden to Wall Street. During the campaign, Trump said this tax scam allowed hedge fund managers to get away with murder and vowed to eliminate it. Americans who hadn't voted for 30 years said, "How do I register to vote? This guy's speaking all the right things. I'm going to get out and I'm going to vote for this guy." Let's take out the slide rule. Number of carried interest loopholes eliminated by President Trump, 0. Total campaign contributions in 2016 given by Goldman Sachs to Hillary Clinton, $388,000. Total campaign contributions given by Goldman Sachs to Trump, $5,607, or 70 times less than they gave Hillary. Number of Goldman Sachs employees put in top administration positions by President Trump. Listen to this. 7 or more than President Bush and Obama combined. For someone unable to fill the most basic of his immigration promises, Trump has been amazingly competent in accomplishing the things Wall Street wanted, but no one else did. Number of actions taken to defend the free... This is very important. Number of actions taken to defend the free speech rights of Trump's biggest supporters being deplatformed and censored, such as Milo Yiannopoulos, Gavin McInnes, Laura Loomer, and Alex Jones. And you could say, you and me, all of us. So let me read that again. Number of actions taken to defend the free speech rights of Trump's biggest supporters being deplatformed and censored, such as all those names I mentioned. The answer, 0. Percentage of the base that Trump can afford to lose in 2020 after millions of older, wittier Americans have... I'm sorry, I read that wrong. Percentage of the base that Trump can afford to lose in 2020 after millions of older, whiter Americans have died off and millions of immigrants have turned 18 and begun voting. Of course, now they want to lower the voting age to 16. 0. I'd say that Ann Coulter is right on, and I want to thank her for doing that. I want to show you one other thing here. I'm not going to put the link in the description box, but I want to show it to you, if I can bring it up. You know, I have a lot of respect for headlines with a voice.
1787, Thomas Jefferson wrote a letter to John Adams' son-in-law, William S. Smith.
Now, I haven't asked Nancy Walker Hart if I can play this here. I'm sure she would let me take a small snippet of it just to show you, but that's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to show it to you. This is Headlines with a Voice. She's put out some great stuff. This one's called Liberty or Lethargy. Okay, I want you to see it. See if I can get it to focus. Do you see that? Headlines with a voice. Liberty or lethargy. You need to go listen to that. If you've ever wondered when the statement by Thomas Jefferson was that the tree of liberty needs to be watered occasionally by the blood of tyrants and patriots, that's the letter she's talking about. So that I wanted to end kind of on that so that you know that the Second Amendment thing is not about a National Guard. It's not about the government or the states or the cities and municipalities and county law enforcement officers having weapons. It's about you and me. And Trump has lied to us. What did he say during the campaign? I'm going to defend your Second Amendment. I mean, if you can get a driver's license, which is a privilege that's honored in all 50 states, how much more so should you be able to have honored your concealed carry permit, which is a right, not a privilege? Do you remember him saying that? Where's that? Where is that? Nowhere to be found. Quite the opposite. He supported red flag laws and even brought it up in that meeting, and I've showed you that several times now. No effort by him to defend us against the onslaught of the tyrants that seek to take away our God-given rights that the federal government and the states are supposed to protect according to the Constitution of the United States and the Bill of Rights. You failed, President Trump, and even if Bill Barr succeeds in getting a few throwaways, let's say he's successful in getting McCabe, Stroke, Page. That's laughable, considering the extent of this coup, which was not just a coup against you, President Trump. It was a coup against the American people that support and sustain and wanted to restore law and order according to the supreme law of the land, the Constitution of the United States, and go after this scum and these debauched leaders in our government. What are you going to do, President Trump? You know, in the Army, there's a thing that's said. You don't reinforce success. You don't reinforce failure. Start off wrong on that. You don't reinforce failure. You reinforce success. But there is a caveat, right? If the tyrant's succeeding, so it goes the other way. You don't want to reinforce that. Chat was on. I forgot to tell everybody it's on. We're in dire straits, ladies and gentlemen. And pretending that we've got a champion in the office of the president that's going to keep this disaster, this destruction away from us is naive, juvenile, and frankly, wicked. Judge Learned Hand, you can go look it up. I've used this quote quite often. He said, to trust in the courts, to trust in the president, I'm paraphrasing here, to trust even in the Constitution to secure your rights isn't going to do it. The only thing that's going to do it is that those rights are written in the hearts and minds of every man and woman in this country. If they don't stand up for it, no Constitution, no court, no president will succeed in defending it, if in fact they even try. Mary Wolf, you say we must protect our president or we be socialist. Well, then you haven't heard a thing I've said today. You haven't heard a thing I've said. President Trump needs to prove that he is for the Constitution and for us. You better stop being in this dream world, because we're going down that road. Do you know anything? What was your name? I lost it already. Do you know what the USMCA is? Trump accepted it. He's accepted the red flag laws, even pushed them. You don't see what's in front of your eyes, and I'm not giving him the benefit of the doubt any longer. I'm not accepting his excuses. I'm not accepting that the deep state is in his way. I'm not saying they aren't, but he has ways around it, and he has refused to take them. And as a matter of fact, he has done what they have told him to do. Oh, but, they've threatened him and his family. Hey, how many soldiers has he sent overseas so that their lives get threatened? Why is it that these political leaders can always play with other people's lives? Or the people on the border. You hear all this stuff about, people on the border who don't want it. Hey, the wall and the protections. I did a documentary back in 2011. It's on this channel. I've talked about it before. You can go watch it. It's called Borders, Mexican Drug War or Insurgency. Brings up the whole thing with, fast and furious, and that we were actually fueling an insurgency in Mexico by giving these arms to the cartels that we wanted to take over the political positions. Yes, that's what was happening. And the drugs were being used to finance it. The CIA and the FBI and the ATF. Go look at that. Why aren't you protecting them, President Trump? Because the people that I interviewed down there, and you'll see some of them on that documentary, said they were scared. And you do nothing. Oh, you sent the military down there. We have what? I think it's in the hundreds of military bases around the world. We give money to other countries to build walls and to protect their borders. We give weapons to other countries, but we're not protecting our own citizens. Now, this is empire building, President Trump. This is regime change, and you know it. And you campaigned on not doing that any longer. I don't give a damn if your military wants to do those things under some guise that we have to have this presence all over the world. No, that's empire building. It's not just to protect our interests, our people that might be overseas that might need to be, rescued or whatever. No, this is empire building. They're enslaving us, ladies and gentlemen, and it's a minute before midnight. A lot of what is going to determine how fast this happens is in the next 2 weeks. If you continue to support this president uncritically, not demanding that he do his job in the way that I've outlined today, and Ann Coulter and Dinesh D'Souza and a lot of other people. If you refuse to hold his feet to the fire, you have no one but yourself to blame when this thing turns on you, and it's coming down the road now. It's coming down the tracks now. Yeah, they might still kill him. I noticed somebody here saying deplorable. Tomorrow the Ides of March. Yeah, I'm not saying that they wouldn't still kill him because he represents us, or he's supposed to. In our eyes, he's the icon of everything we believe in, and they want to destroy that. So killing him's still in there. And he did step out of line by being an outsider. I'm not saying he didn't do that, but he was trying to do it. The power elite fight with each other. He's a billionaire, for crying out loud. So they vie for power. It's a game they play. And he thought they'd play with him, and they didn't. But I don't know that he ever really believed that he was going to support the Constitution of the United States as we have discussed today that he needs to. I don't think so. Okay. I'll take a few questions here. Let's see what I can find here. I'm going to go back to... I don't even know if my... I told Kay Smalls I was going to be on today or tomorrow. I don't know if she's on here today or not, but if my moderators are here helping me, I appreciate it. Okay. Yeah, I know about Adam Green. I like some of his stuff. Just like everybody, I don't agree with him on everything. I don't expect anybody to agree with me on everything. So he and I could have a healthy discourse, I think. I'm going to read this. Ray 7337. Trump is pissing on us, but he's telling us it's raining. I agree. That's the sad part of this. I agree. Thank you. By the way, thank you all for coming again, if I didn't say that. And if you're leaving me nice, I don't expect everybody to like what I say. And I'm sorry I lost my temper yesterday and told that guy, are you effing stupid? It may have been a lady, I'm not sure. But you see why I'm so concerned, why this is so passionate for me. Because we're just at the end of our rope. I even heard Owen Schroyer on, he's filling in for Alex Jones the other day, and he says, I'm drained. Trump is not doing the things that he said he would do, and we keep standing here and taking these bullets for him, and nothing ever happens. He never gets out of the trench. He didn't quite put it that way, but that's kind of what it was. He says he's worn out, and I understand that. That's why I wonder if that was all planned sometimes, because the scripture says that the devil shall wear out the saints of the Most High, and that there will be a war, and that the devil will prevail against the saints. Was he put in there as a placebo to give us hope so that they could bash our hopes again? We can't let that happen. We can't let that happen. That's cult of personality worship. We can't let that happen. We have to abide by our principles. It's dangerous, but if we don't do it, who will? Bonnie R., didn't you just hear what Ann Coulter said? She even told the press, no, the wall is not being built. They are repairing areas of it, but there are no new walls being built anywhere. The new walls that they were designing have all been destroyed. You didn't listen to the... Go read Ann Coulter. And is she full of shit? No, she's not. I spent time down on the border. I know people down there right now. There's a very small section that some things are happening, but it's basically a repair job. Where have I been? I agree. This whole vaccine push is bad. Tony Blassetti, I don't want to bash Trump, but come on. Yeah, Feeman's. I said the other day they're coming for the Christians. Trump's not supporting his supporters. Do you understand? Do you understand how frustrated I am? You can't just say that. Now maybe you're saying, yeah, keep bashing Trump. Maybe that's what you mean. I don't know, Tony. Forgive me if I misunderstand it. Maybe you're saying, yeah, keep it up. Or maybe you're saying, oh, just keep bashing Trump. I don't know how you mean it. But I think everyone should understand at this point that Trump, if he didn't lie to us, he definitely deceived us. It's not always the same thing. At least he's failing us, put it that way. And he is. All of the accomplishments that we've talked about, from economics to the Supreme Courts to the federal courts to all, the whatever, to the jobs being created, which I really question because I travel a lot and I don't see it. But even if all that were true, if we lose our core principles, the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, especially the First, Second, and Fourth Amendments, what have we gained? I remember President Bush saying, oh, the Al-Qaeda and the Islamic people, they hate us because of our freedoms. That lying SOB. There's some truth to that. But the people that really hate our freedoms are the elites in this country. And when he talked about his freedoms, he means his freedom to go around the world and do anything he wants to make money, to have power. He wasn't talking about our freedoms. He was talking about his. Okay. Let me just bust down through here real fast. We've been going for over an hour, and I've probably worn most of you out. Yeah, Candace K, I'm aware of the Denver airport, and everybody should go study that. And thank you. Um, there are tarot cards several years ago with Trump on them. There was also, and I forget the name of it. I found it, or I was shown it the other night by a lady who has had them for years. They aren't tarot cards, but they're event cards. Put it that way. They're kind of like trading cards. They've been around for, I guess, about 20 years, and she's kept this thing in a notebook. Man, these cards are from years and years ago, and they say the same thing. They're the elite trading cards of some sort. I don't know all the details, but yeah, it's been around for a long time. I agree. Again, vaccines, the forced vaccines are bad. I agree. They bring all these diseases in here and then tell us we need to be vaccinated from it, but they do nothing to stop it at the border. It's all ass backwards. Salmon is radioactive. It depends on where you get it. Yeah, some of it is. A lot of seafood is, especially in the Pacific. But yeah, Chicken Patty 13 said that. Candace K. Amen, Douglas. I don't know who you're addressing Douglas here, I guess, but very true. He will pay for that. He knows. Remember, the serpent seed is very subtle, as Jesus said about Satan. He was a liar and murderer from the beginning. Yeah. Yeah. Well, we could talk about that issue all day long and then more. Yeah, I agree, Douglas. His base is dwindling fast because he will not stand up and be counted. He's a wishy-washy. He's not a negotiator, as it turns out. He's a very good builder. He's very good at that. He's an idiot savant when it comes to building structures. But he's not a leader. He's not even dedicated to the Constitution. He can be. He can turn around. But there's no evidence of it at this point. Yeah, that's a good point, John Smith. And I need to apologize to a lot of the people that pointed this out to me very early on. Oh, Trump isn't what he says he is. You all. And of course, I've toyed with that. I've said that at times, and I've also said that it looks like he's trying. But John Smith says it pretty well here, and I got to admit you're right, John. It's apparently the way it is, unless he does some real positive proofs here real fast. This is John Smith talking. Donald Trump was installed to settle down the patriots that the deep state were in fear of coming after them. He told us what we wanted to hear. At this point in time, I agree 100%. Whether intentional or not, that's what's happened. Yep. This is interesting. John Byerly. I don't think I've ever seen you on here before. As a matter of fact, you say that. You say, I've been watching Roy for 2 years. I've never joined the chat. Trump, I've been watching him letting his base get dismantled and doing nothing about it. I've had it. What's our answer? We don't have anybody that's going to be in D.C. to help us, ladies and gentlemen. Forget that. Forget it. If Trump doesn't do it, what he's done is he's put us on a razor's edge, and we're falling off one side or the other, and neither one's going to be good. We're on our own. Find like-minded people. Get your stores together, your food, your water, your medical supplies. Find out who your constitutional sheriffs are, governors. Get out of the big cities, especially the ones I mentioned earlier if you can. Places like California, New Mexico. Well, yeah, New Mexico now too, New York, any of those places. But they're going to take over the whole country, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to be balkanized into very small plots, and that's going to be, it's going to be feudal wars, like it was 500 years ago, 600 years ago. That's where we're headed. Look at former Yugoslavia. I mean, even today it hasn't been settled because they need that. They need that conflict there to justify NATO. One of the things. We're in trouble. Yeah, we're on our last legs. Our mighty mix, and this nation will never rise again. It is failing. It has fallen. You cannot stop its destruction. No leader can fix what your forefathers have done. You cannot escape the coming judgment. Okay, you're trying to blame our forefathers who, for all of their faults, they were trying to do the right thing. So I reject what you say. Those black Israelites who were trying to say that all white people should die because they had slaves and all that. My family never had slaves. The number of slave owners in the United States were very small. There were black slave owners. Do you know that? And there have been more white slaves during the history of the world than any other, with the possible exception of Africa. Look at why Thomas Jefferson raided the Barbary Coast. Because the Islam people there were raiding our ships and taking our sailors and the passengers on those boats and making them slaves. So don't tell me. Our forefathers had their faults, but they had a vision. And unfortunately, we have not abided by that birthright. We have sold our birthright for a pot of porridge. There's a story in the Bible about that, Esau and Jacob. And that one, it appears to be good. But do you know what the name Jacob means, ladies and gentlemen? Those of you who study the Bible? Do you know what Jacob means? Yaakov. Maybe you ought to go look that up. I don't think I'll give you the answer. Might surprise you. Things aren't as you've been told. Okay. An hour and 15 minutes. I think we're done. Yeah. I wish I could get through all these. I talked too much today. But I think you get the gist. And, there are people that are on both sides of the issue in here. All I would say for those of you who still want to support what Trump says he stands for, I understand. But talk is cheap. And as I said early on in this administration when they came in, I'm hearing all the rhetoric, but I'm not seeing it. I'm not seeing the evidence on the ground, and it continues that way till this day. Jimmy Meeks, that's a good point. Yeah, 5Q is going to be a problem. 5G is going to be a problem. Yeah, it is. I wouldn't say that it'll negate the Second Amendment. All I'm saying is that that's going to be a problem. And they are already tracking so much now. And it's not to protect you, it's to protect them. And you know that. Yeah, I'm going to make this statement here. Armani Mix, and stop calling those people who say they are Jews, they are imposters. I've done a lot of videos about that on my channel. I understand. I wrote a book called The Crimson Thread. I understand what you're saying. But sometimes people identify themselves because of generations or whatever, and they don't know any better. So just be careful with that. That's all I'm saying. Yeah, I don't want to get into Noahide laws now, but I will say that they're not based on Torah. That it was an interpolation done for control purposes. Yeah, Finest Planet. I saw your message, Finest Planet. I'm sorry I didn't tell you about that. They are no longer selling guns at Dick's Sporting Goods, rifle at 125 of their stores or something like that. Yeah, this is happening, but I just so that you know, Dick's may be losing money there, and that might be really more of the reason than a political statement. They might be trying to turn it into a political statement for whatever reason. They're trying to impress somebody. I sense that the real reason that Dick's Sporting Goods isn't selling weapons anymore is because they can't sell them. You've got Sportsman's Warehouse, you've got Shields, you've got Bass Pro Shops, you've got Cabela's, you've got new gun shops opening up all over the place. That's one thing I do see a lot of opening up, are gun stores. So my suspicion is that Dick's didn't make this decision because of their supposed righteousness or whatever. I think it's an economic decision. They can't compete with these other stores. I think that's what's going on there. Yeah, Brian Coleman, I like the way you've put it. I absolutely agree. This is him talking. I absolutely agree. I love Donald Trump, but I'm sorry he's not following through on what matters most to this country and our republic, and that's obvious. That's exactly right. That's how I feel. There'll be people that'll say other things, but that's definitely. Yeah, I've given it basically 3 years now. I've heard all the excuses. I've heard it's sort of like what Trump does is he says, he complains on Twitter and he complains about, all the bad people that are working against him, all that. Well, this is Trump, he has a gun in his hand, right? And he gives it to somebody, that he thinks that he can trust. And they say, gee, you gave me a gun with no ammunition in it. So he gets it and he loads it with ammunition. He gives it back to them, and then they can pull it on him. You know what I mean? That's the kind of thing he does. Yeah, I don't want to say that Trump is the destroyer, but he, more than moving us forward, he has put the brakes on to restoring the republic. He put Kavanaugh in, and Kavanaugh has basically been right beside Roberts on everything that Roberts has done. Sometimes I look at Kavanaugh as a soy boy. Yeah, AMP Army Article 2, Section 2, thoughts where I've talked about it frequently. And I've tried, and others have sent this information to Trump too, some that have direct contact with him about Article 2, Section 2. He just ignores us. I don't think he doesn't understand the power of the presidency. I think he's subverting it at this point, so that we'll take anything that comes along in our desperation. And if I haven't been clear today, I will end on this. And my Republican insider friend, I'm very sorry. I do not trust President Donald J. Trump to fulfill his promises, especially those promises that help us and our rights under the Constitution. I don't expect that at all. He might help the economy to help his business buddies and whatever, but he's not going to help us, and he's proven it. I'm glad the way he supported those conservative kids from Florida that were maligned by so many people, the Catholic kids. But in reality, he didn't really do much there either. Just said a few words. Invited him to the White House, the Covington kids. Yeah, maybe. That's nice. That's nice. Ladies and gentlemen, thanks for coming. I won't keep you any longer. God bless you. God bless yours. God bless the Constitutional Republic of the United States of America and the Second American Revolution. We did that. Trump rode the train. Trump saw where we stood and decided to use us. Normally, I won't stand in judgment of somebody. But I think the track record speaks for itself. Can he change? I don't know that that's going to happen. Gird your loins and get ready for what's coming. I don't think it's good. Keep your eyes on the horizon, your ears to the ground. Prep, pray, stay out of the way. Get your friends together. You really can't depend on anyone else. And then a lot of times you can't even depend on them. I'll still say I hope God can awaken President Trump and give him the power of discernment, and that he uses it. That he'll see the right from the wrong and have the courage to do the right thing. But I'm not certain that he is anything but a Saul, and I mean King Saul, who was so jealous of of his position and everything else, he'd be willing to sell everything that he held dear away for that power, or for the power of the opposite side, whatever's going on up there. Okay. Is there anything else? I don't think so. Actually, I will read one more thing, if I can get it to come up. Yeah, I'm not going to tell you who wrote this, but I'll end on this possible defense for Trump. Okay, I'm not going to tell you the name. If the person's listening, they'll know that they sent it to me, and I want to say I appreciate it, but I'm not as positive as you are in this. He writes, "For your information, Trump the stiffer is a talking point for Hillary's campaign." Turns out she was right. He has done that. Whether he's done it to us or not, I think it's already obvious. But let's go on and see what the guy says. As for comments on social media and Trump saying you got to be good, his point was not that just behave and be a good lemming on social media. His point was despite all the censorship, he can win by running a better campaign and fighting harder. I disagree. He's losing his base. The way he won the last election was by having social media and his backers supporting him there and pushing the message. He's losing that, if he hasn't already lost it. So this gentleman says, be good means fight harder despite all the censorship. Won't work. Then he says, but I agree, must act fast on the First Amendment, Second Amendment, and Fourth Amendment. But the First Amendment and social media censorship, poor Alex Jones sacrificed everything to get Trump elected. They came after Alex and purged him, and Trump said not a word. Very true. And not acting to remedy the censorship. Enjoy your commentary and videos. Please keep posting. Time to hold his feet to the fire. Most people make videos on trust the plan or owning the libs, so your sobering comments are much appreciated. It's easy for the deep state to blackmail Trump. Play ball with us, deep state says, or we bankrupt Trump org that you and your dad built, leaving your kids and grandkids penniless. Raiding Cohen's office was a warning that we can do anything we want and crush you. Anyways, just ranting, as I'm upset too. And my point was, but he's willing to send the young to war overseas. I know he's trying to bring them back. That's what he says. And what did I tell you the other day? Have you talked to a soldier that's been brought back under this plan? It'd be pretty hard to find one. Trump presidency, rearranging the chairs on the deck of Titanic as hitting the iceberg, putting on Band-Aids when serious surgery is needed to remove the cancerous tumors. Dangerous process, but haven't I said that this is a disease? I made a video about the disease. To know Trump is compromised, just have to look at his hires. He was not allowed to pick whoever he wanted. They gave him a list and was forced to pick from deep state-approved choices. Yeah, they tried to corner him into that, but I will respectfully refute that he had to go that way. That's one of the ways he could have made a statement, by putting the right people in, as we've all talked about, from Mike Cernovich to Ann Coulter today, to me, to other people that have said that he's totally ignored people that could have helped him in his supporters, that could have helped him in his stated agenda. Trump hired Rosenstein, Wray, Barr, McMaster, John Bolton, impotent lawyers Ty Cobb, John Dow, NATO Secretary, Never Trumper, Kay Bailey Hutchinson, Big Pharma execs to head FDA, and HHS Kristen Nielsen for DHS. Trump fired America First MAGA loyalist General Flynn. On the advice of Kushner, 36-year-old slumlord, per Chris Christie's account, which White House has not refuted. When you follow the advice of a 36-year-old slumlord to fire a general who has put his reputation and career on the line to get you elected, you have lost it all. So even he's critical. Chris Farrell, that's who I was trying to remember, of Judicial Watch. Sorry, I always forget his name. I don't know why. Chris Farrell of Judicial Watch could have been an excellent choice for the FBI, but Trump is not allowed to hire whoever he wants. Deep State gives him a list, or he has to choose from. And I'd say fight him on it. Do it anyway. Rush Limbaugh had said it many times. The Deep State fake news attacks cannot separate Trump voters from Trump. Only Trump can do that, but failing to deliver on his key promises, by failing, he will lose them. So thank you for sending that to me, and I'll end on that. I don't look for people to agree with me. That's not what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to wake us up from this cult of personality worship. We've got to get away from it. We've got to look at the facts, what's happening. And we're going down the tubes, ladies and gentlemen, way too fast. Okay, I've kept you longer than I should have. See you next time.